Hey everybody, welcome to another baking class. Today we are making a special recipe. We're doing orange and currant scones. There's a story behind this recipe. So I'll take you back to 2014 when I first started at the Burnett Center. It was a brand new opportunity for me. It was unknown then, kind of a startup if you will. I had met the Burnett family before and had the privilege of working with Miss Alyssa, and I knew Charlie and I knew Barbara, and I was very grateful that they gifted our community with this center and this new opportunity for our adults and our families. As time went on, I got to know the Burnett family even better, and unfortunately, a few years ago, we lost Charlie, and we were looking for ways to kind of honor his memory and his gifts to our center and our community. At that same time, I was starting a baking class, and in talking with Barbara, I learned that Charlie loved scones. It was his favorite recipe. So I made sure that every time we did baking, we made some sort of scone, and we would box up the extras. We'd give them to Barbara as a gift to kind of honor her and honor Charlie's memory. In making these baking videos, I'd be remiss if we didn't kind of honor Charlie's memory and dedicate this video and kind of dedicate these scones to him. So I hope as you make this recipe at home, you kind of think about the Burnett family and kind of Charlie and his memory. Thank you. When you first start, you're going to want to adjust your oven rack. So before you even preheat, you're going to adjust your oven rack so it's in the lower middle part of the oven. So you can kind of see where mine is here. You're then going to preheat your oven to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And those are the first steps that you're going to take with this recipe. Now we're going to start making our scone dough. So we're going to add 2 cups of all-purpose flour. I have my measure cup here, so you're going to kind of dip it in, and as you might remember, you're going to level. And when you level, you want to use the flat side of a knife or an instrument like this. Make sure you get a nice even measure. 1. Next, we're going to add 1/3 cup of sugar. You're going to use white granulated sugar. Again, you're going to take a flat edge and kind of level your measure. Then add in the sugar. Next is 1/4 teaspoon of baking powder. Kind of level right on the ledge here. Three-fourths teaspoon of salt. You probably don't have a measure spoon that says 3/4 teaspoon, so you can do a 1/4 and then a 1/2. Take a whisk and just sort of stir that. You get the lumps out that way. The next thing you're going to do is you're going to add your fats. We're going to add butter and we're going to add vegetable shortening. For the butter, you're going to want to put it in so it kind of mixes. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to grate it so you get smaller pieces of butter. It asks us to add 4 tablespoons. So if you look on the side here, you can see the tablespoons are kind of counted out. You're going to cut right along that line here. So it's about 1/2 stick. I'm using a box grater for this. Next, we're going to add 2 tablespoons of vegetable shortening. Sometimes you can find this in sticks. If you find it in a tub, you can just use a measuring spoon to scoop out 2 tablespoons. That's 1. You want to mix this all together, so you can use a pastry blender or you can use 2 forks. So with 2 forks, you're almost kind of having them dance together while you push the butter and the shortening into the flour mix. You can kind of finish this job with your hands. What you're basically wanting is you wanted to make it into like a course meal. So you want to get like little kind of pea-sized pieces of butter and shortening, but nothing bigger than that. You're going to set this aside for a moment, and then in a separate small bowl, you're going to mix your wet ingredients. So we're going to mix an egg. And then to that, we're going to add 3/4 cup of sour cream. So again, you probably don't have a measuring cup that says 3/4, but you can use a 1/2 cup and a 1/4 cup, and that'll be 3/4 cup. You can use a spoon or a spatula to scoop it out. If you don't have a spatula, make sure you use a spoon to kind of push this into the cup. You want to avoid air pockets. So it's a 1/2. And then we're going to do the 1/4. Use a fork, you're going to mix together your sour cream and your egg. Just do like little circles. You don't want it to fly away. You just want to mix this until it looks smooth. And then using the same fork, you're going to add this egg and sour cream mix into your flour mix. So. Use this fork to mix. So you're making a dough, so if you're looking for like a batter consistency, you might be confused. But think of like biscuits or like a bread dough, and that's the kind of consistency that you're gonna get. At first it kind of seems like there's not enough liquid, like oh it's too dry, like I don't have enough. But it'll come together, just keep working. You can kind of use your hands and push it together. So again, it's looking like it's too dry, too crumbly. But just use your hands. It'll feel sticky at first, but as you get the flour mixed in, it'll start to kind of come together. Next, you're going to add 1/4 cup of dried currant. If you can't find currant, you can also substitute kind of dried cranberries. That would probably be very good with the orange. Currants are a little bit smaller than the cranberry, so you can kind of see the size difference here. You also want 1.5 teaspoons of orange zest. So you want to use a zester. You want to make sure you have like kind of small little holes. And the zest is the outside part of the orange, the part that you normally wouldn't eat. And you can't eat all of the peel of an orange, you just want the orange part. Once you get to the white, you gotta kind of stop. So I'll show you a technique. I like to angle this like this. And you have gravity help you that way. And you just do a few scrapes. And once it starts to get too yellow, you kind of turn it and get another part. You just want the orange side. You don't want what they call the pith, which is where it turns very white. That's very bitter. You can see I'm scraping a few sides and I'm turning, scraping and turning. You'll see it's kind of collecting on the back side here. You can just take a knife and scrape it down. Take your teaspoon and using your knife, you're just gonna add the zest in. It's a little precarious, just go slow. It's one. Here's a half. And using your fork, you're going to mix these ingredients together. You want to make sure the zest gets mixed in because you don't want one scone that just has a huge chunk of orange that's in the middle and the others with none. So just keep stirring, keep mixing. Now we're going to pat out our dough. We're not going to roll it. Kind of like biscuits, you're going to pat it. So you want a surface that you can put a little bit of flour on. That's just so it doesn't stick to your countertop. Just a handful of flour. Then take your dough. So you're going to pat it to a circle that's about 7 to 8 inches in diameter. And then you're just going to cut it into triangles. And those triangles are going to be your scones. So this dough is, again, about 7 to 8 inches in diameter. You can measure if you want, if you don't have any idea what that's like. And about 3/4 inches thick. So that's a little less than an inch thick. Take a knife and you're just going to cut it into triangles. I was reading an article online and they were making fun of how in America our scones are triangle shaped, and in England, where scones come from, they're usually round. It's like kind of a biscuit. And they're making fun of Americans, like why do Americans have triangle scones? I think it's just easier to cut, honestly. It's like cutting a pizza. I think it looks nice, but the Brits would make fun of us for this. You're going to take a tray, line it with parchment paper. You want to make sure you use parchment paper, not wax paper. I pre-line my tray, it's very loud. I wanted to spare you guys some noise, but if it looks like it's popping up, just know once you put the scones on, they'll kind of push it down and it'll lay flat. The other thing I like about these triangles is if you alternate your pieces like this, one going one way, one going the other, you can kind of fit them all on really nicely and bake them on one tray. So you're going to take your tray, you're going to put them in the oven. These guys are going to cook for about 15 to 17 minutes, so set a timer. Clean up your space and we'll make the glaze while they're cooking. In general, a glaze is different than a frosting. A glaze is primarily made out of powdered sugar, and then to that you add a liquid. So if you want an orange glaze, you add orange juice. If you want like a coffee glaze, you add like a little bit of coffee. So once you learn how to make glazes, it's pretty cool because you can make lots of different types. We're gonna do an orange glaze. So you start with this powdered sugar. You wanna make sure it says powdered sugar or confectioner sugar on the bag. You can't use regular table sugar for this. It'll just kind of get like a syrup. So you use this powdered sugar, and you do 2.5 cups of powdered sugar. You can level, but what I think is kind of nifty is you can use the side of the bag and sort of press it in like this. See how I'm doing? And then it's leveled. So that's 1. 2, and then 1/2. To this, we're going to add orange juice and orange zest. So I would recommend starting by zesting your orange, similar to before. It's really hard to zest an orange when it's been cut in half. So it's easier to start with the zest and then to cut it in half and juice it. So we're going to scrape it along here, just like we did with the scones. This time we want almost a tablespoon of zest, so it's twice as much as before. Add your tablespoon of orange zest. And then you're gonna add 3 to 4 tablespoons of orange juice. You can use store-bought, it's so much better to use fresh squeeze. So you want to cut your orange kind of between the kind of ends so that you get nice segments like this. It's much easier to juice. I like a juicer like this. You just take it and you crank it. Fresh squeezed orange juice is super good. So you're gonna do 1 tablespoon at a time. So it's 1, 2. Take a fork and stir. First it's gonna seem like there's definitely not enough liquid, but before long it'll turn into a glaze, so just keep going. You can already see it starting to turn a little orange in the middle. Add our 4th tablespoon now. You basically want a really thick liquid, like a thick syrupy liquid that you can kind of pour over your scones. You need a little more liquid to get it so it's pourable, that's okay. This is almost there. You should be able to get enough juice out of a single orange. You might need more than that, obviously, for the zest. But this is coming together. You can see how the glaze kind of slides around when I tilt the bowl. That's what you're looking for. Keep stirring to get the lumps out. You'll still see little chunks of zest, and that's good, but you want the lumps of sugar out. If you have a whisk, that can be a really good tool for kind of getting those extra lumps out. My bowl is a little small for this, but you can see you can just kind of do some little circles, and the whisk is kind of just helping it mix together. Timer just went off. What you're looking for is you want them to be golden brown. So it's between 15 and 17 minutes. They're almost there. I'm going to give them just another 2 minutes just to kind of get that nice golden color. So I'm adding 2 minutes of my time. That additional 2 minutes is up. Let's check our scones. You can see how they're a nice golden color. So we're gonna let them cool for about 5 minutes and we're gonna add our glaze. So there's different ways you can glaze the scones. You can take a spoon and just sort of drizzle. You can also take a knife and sort of spread. So it depends what kind of look you're going for and how much glaze you want. Usually it takes a second or two for the glaze to kind of settle and spread out, so just give it a moment and then you may enjoy. All right, Charlie, this is for you.